Dalton, you've caught us in the middle of a remodeling project in the middle of winter, but here we go. Come on up.
My name is Marilyn Olsen, and I moved into this Haunted Girls Reform School Thanksgiving Day, November of 2013. The reform school that we're in right now was originally built in 1921. Initially, we were not told that the place was haunted. We did know that it had been a girls' reform school, and we didn't know anything about being haunted until after we had moved in. And then we had kids at the school here, at the middle school and the high school and stuff, and so, you know, they were the first ones where, you know, other kids were making comments about the place. Yeah, and it seems to be just kind of an established fact that the place is haunted. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to believe in it for things to happen. I didn't believe in that kind of stuff, and so I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, I guess it kind of looks like it's going to be haunted, but, you know, and then after a few things happened, I was like, well. So Ghost Hunts USA comes out here occasionally to do things, and the first time that they came out just to check the place out.
I'm giving her a tour of the place, and I bring her in here, and she says, oh, I see something. She says, I'm seeing a woman with a head wound, and blood is running down the drain.
A lady had come out and asked me. She had just recently gone to her mother's funeral, and she said she'd grown up on stories her mother had told her about living here as a juvenile delinquent.
She asked me if she could just wander around the grounds and just kind of look at the place, and if that was okay. And I told her, sure, that's fine. I said, in fact, if you want, come on in, I'll give you a tour.
She was telling me some of the stories that her mother had told her, and she was saying that apparently there was one of the matrons who the girls felt was unkind or unfair to them, enough that one day they lured her into the showers and beat her in the head with an iron. And they believed that they had killed her. And they, in fact, never knew what happened to her because they never saw her again. And we didn't know the story about the lady in the shower yet. And it was like 2 weeks later that woman came out and told me that story.
This girl grew up with stories from her mom of attempted murders that she was involved in at this place. And so if you think you had a weird childhood, there's other people who had worse. So let me show you solitary confinement. This is solitary confinement room. When the girls would get in trouble, they would lock them in here. And you can see the window is steel reinforced fiberglass. On the inside of the door, there's no knob. And so if you close the door, you can see even though the knob's locked, but there's no strike in here, so you can't get locked in here. Even though that's the case, you still can't open the door. And so if someone closes this, you can't get out. So you want to try to open the door?
Sure.
Yeah, I can't.
There was a kid who had a harvest. There was a farm, working farm, and there was a harvesting accident, and one of the kids lost his hand in this harvesting accident. And the rest of the kids were so upset about this kid losing his hand that they decided they were going to have a funeral for his hand. And so they buried his hand in this cemetery out back. And so that led to, the urban legends of this creepy hand, from all the kids in town and everything. And obviously I've never seen the hand crawling around, but there's lots of stories. So
recently a man was coming to do exploration, and I was thinking to myself, really not much has happened recently. And I was the only person in the house for a few days because Doug and Magnum were out of town. And I came upstairs here to the second floor, and I was putting some things away in Magnum's room, and his door was open, and I'm like, well, that's dumb. And so they were coming back the next day, so I turned the heater on to warm his room up, and I shut the door. And then I went around to the hall in the northwest wing, and all 3 doors over there were open, and I thought, well, that's odd. And so I shut them all. And then I went back downstairs and went back to what I was doing. And then an hour or two later, I had some other things I needed to put away up here. And I came up and Magnum's door was open, like a good 6 or 8 inches. And I thought, I really thought I shut that. And so I shut it again, and I thought, So I went around to the northwest wing, and all those doors were opened again also. And one of them, like, not all of them latch really well, but one of them really does latch well. And it was totally open. So I shut them all again, and I didn't come back up here that night. So our bedroom is on the other side of the foyer, and I got up in the middle of the night to get a drink. And so I went through the foyer and into the dining room, and I didn't turn on the lights. It's my house, I know where everything's at. And as I walked into the dining room, 1 o'clock in the morning, I hear this, "Mom." And I have a teenage daughter, and I'm like, what is she doing up at 1 in the morning? So I flipped on the light, and there was nobody there. And I wasn't thirsty, and I went back to bed. And then for about 2 months, it was like during the summer, but for about 2 months, I would walk into that room, sometimes during the night, but sometimes broad daylight, and I would hear this voice just say, "Mom," like from the exact same spot in the room every time. And finally, I didn't know what to do, and so finally I just said, "I'm not your mom, and I don't know how to help you." And then I never heard it again. So now I have mom guilt, but because I don't know, how would you help somebody? But yeah.